I was shocked by how many people told me they were no longer Republican. Why? Because we're not focused on the things that matter to them. I asked them, what matters to you? It's the things that all these people have been telling you to focus on: the border, security, election integrity, education, judicial accountability. Nobody told me that they wanted stricter abortion laws. Every time we talk about abortion, we are putting gas in the tank of the Democrats. That's their one winning issue. I'm up here begging you not to make it one of our priorities. We've already won on this. What are we pushing for? There was a guy in there saying, make morning after pills illegal and prosecute anybody who uses them as for murder. Murder. What are we going to do? We're going to stone women next?
Funny, she should ask that. That was Texas County Precinct Chair Gilda Bagan, who is warning her party to stop making abortion their focus as they will continue to lose. But Republican attendees at the conference clearly did not care. Here's how they responded.
Do you believe that a child in the womb is a human being?
You know what? It doesn't matter what I believe. What matters is what the people out there believe and what they're going to vote for. And if we lose this election, I want you all to think about the reality of what this country will become. 4 more years of Democrat.
All right. This answer is non-responsive to the question. Are there any further questions? Spencer Rolsma.
Anybody else?
Do you believe it matters what God believes in us, or do you think it just matters to win elections?
Yeah, things are going really well here in Texas. I also like that tornado warning that came up in the middle of the video. It's been great. So in fact, we just had a GOP primary earlier this week. And just to give you an idea of how well things are going down here, the Republican Speaker of the Texas House, Dade Phelan, just secured his 6th term, beating out his quote unquote right-wing challenger, David Covey. Again, they're both Republicans, they're both right-wing, but Phelan is considered by many around here to be a rhino. He made national headlines a little while back for having the audacity as a Republican to impeach our oft-incriminated Attorney General and fellow Republican Ken Paxton, and he defied Republican Governor Greg Abbott by not passing private school vouchers that would have had long-lasting and damaging effects on public school districts across the state. So Phelan eked out a win despite Paxton, Abbott, and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick all attacking him every step of the way, saying that he's not conservative enough to lead Texas. Covey, in comparison, was backed by all of those guys, and he had a Trump endorsement. But the fact that Texas Republicans see a guy like Phelan as a traitor is, 1, not surprising, and 2, extremely telling.
Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you.
If the Texas GOP wasn't already transparent enough about their efforts to secure a Christo-Trumpian rule in Texas, then there's this. The Texas GOP is proposing an amendment that would require candidates for statewide races to win in a majority of the state's counties in order to win the election. And you might be thinking, why would they want to do that? Well, let's take a look at this map of Texas. This is the electoral map from the 2020 presidential election, and it's pretty much what you would expect to see. Plenty of red rural areas, areas that tend to be sparsely populated, with smaller but more heavily concentrated areas of blue. Those blue dots are Texas's major metropolitan areas: Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, El Paso, and then there's also the border region. So here is what Proposal 21 actually says. The state legislature shall cause to be enacted a state constitutional amendment to add the additional criteria for election to a statewide office to include the majority vote of the counties, with each individual county being assigned 1 vote allocated to the popular majority vote winner of each individual county. It's a lot of words. John, I want to get your thoughts in a minute, but just for some quick context, there are 254 counties in Texas. The last gubernatorial race, Beto O'Rourke won 44% of the vote, but because of the way the population is distributed across the state, he only secured a majority in 19 counties. So that's 19 counties out of 254. That's only 7% of the counties. So John, I don't think I need to explain any further why the Texas GOP would want to pass an amendment like this. I feel like the map speaks for itself, but this all speaks to a much larger issue surrounding our electoral process and how well certain populations are represented in government. But as a non-Texan, or I guess a former Texan, really, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I actually lived for about 5 years. Every aspect of that I thought was fascinating. I loved the woman being very pragmatic about the topic of abortion, and I think very wise about the potential electoral toll that continuing to push even past the death of Roe v. Wade would have. I think. Do you care what God thinks about this or just elect? First of all, dude in that very sparsely filled room, you don't know a damn thing about what God thinks about this. Spoiler alert, thinks nothing because it doesn't exist. But even like, have you read the Bible? Do these people know what the Bible actually says about abortion? They're super interested in the Bible, super interested in abortion. They've never thought about sort of like cross-referencing those two things. Look into it. It's actually interesting. But anyway, I think that it is wise to back off a little bit. Now, in terms of like caring about elections and caring about what the people think, these two stories that you talked about are sort of two ways of approaching the same thing. You have that first woman who's like, some of our positions might not be that popular. Maybe we don't focus on them. And then you have this, which by the way, we don't know if this is actually gonna become law. I would imagine the Supreme Court would strike this down, but the Supreme Court are insane, so who knows? This is what I'm sure in the mind of the right that's proposing it, a power move. I think it's the ultimate political bitch move because it signifies that they do not think that they can win elections. You would not set up effectively an electoral college for the counties of Texas if you thought your ideas were popular or your candidates were popular and you could win on the issues. You could win by campaigning. You would instead set up something like this that advantages not Texans who vote, but acres of land. That's all it is. And we know, by the way, Yaz, that the right has had a massive political hard-on for just tracts of land that technically a right-winger is next to. They love, after every presidential election, showing that map that shows like the geographies vote as if that has anything to do with anything. They love that idea. It's like the ultimate dumb donkey way to approach voting. But if you take that at a national level and you apply it to a state, why not do something like this? Now, of course, you could do this like in California or something. You could do this in New York. You could do this in other blue states. I don't know if they want to open up that can of worms, but what do you think?
Yeah, it just flames on the side of my face. That's what I think. And this is why it's exceedingly frustrating when you see people from outside of Texas blaming Texans for our troubles because, we elected these state leaders, right? We did this to ourselves. I'm not kidding when I say they make it very, very difficult to vote them out, and they continue to make it more and more difficult. It all gets worse because if you can't win with an ideology, if you don't have a popular platform, which is what that woman acknowledged earlier, you have to kind of game the system.
Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.